Hi, I'm Dr. Cassandra Chapman, Associate Professor at the University of Queensland and lead researcher here at donorpsych.org. I just wanted to drop you a quick video to summarise my latest research, just being published in Nonprofit and Volunteer Sector Quarterly. We've been looking at the role of identification in charitable giving. So by identification, what we mean is the degree to which people feel a subjective sense of connection with a particular target or share a particular group identity with that target, and whether that's associated with their willingness to give to charity and how generous they are when they do support charities. To answer this question, we conducted what's called a meta-analysis. This involved searching all of the research that has been done on the role of identification in charitable giving. And we identified research from dozens of papers published over 40 years that involved more than 90,000 people in around 15 countries. And when we aggregated all of this data using sophisticated statistical models and graphic representations like these that you don't need to understand, we were able to summarize the state of knowledge over many, many decades about how important identification with different targets is in charitable giving. So overall, we found a medium-sized positive correlation. This was a correlation of the size 0.29 for the statistical nerds, which looks something like this. This is just an illustration. But essentially what it means is that as the degree to which one identifies with a particular target that's relevant to giving goes up, also the likelihood of or the value of donations also go up to some extent. Around 8% of the observed variance in charitable giving could be explained by the variation in the degree of identification or shared identity. So 8% of variance might not sound too much, but it is significant in a complex behavior like charitable giving. Just to contextualize it, the relationship between trust and charitable giving, which I think all of us know to be an important one, explains just around 5% of the variance. What I'm going to talk about very briefly here is the three types of targets that we studied in this particular research. So based on a theory called charitable triad theory, which argues that charitable decisions are influenced by the characteristics of and relationships between three important actors: the donor, the beneficiary, or the person that stands to benefit because the donation is made, and the fundraiser, whether that is an individual fundraiser or an organization, a non-profit raising money for those particular beneficiaries. So that theory argues that all three of these actors could be really important in influencing charitable decisions. And in these data, where we aggregated all of the research, we indeed found that the degree to which the person identified with other donors of the cause, the beneficiaries of the cause, and the fundraising organization itself was all positively associated with their charitable decisions. So when they identified more, they were more willing to give and they gave more. So what can we learn as fundraisers from these data? So, for example, knowing that the degree to which somebody feels a sense of connection or affinity with other donors can influence their charitable decisions, we might want to look to recruit existing donors as spokespeople for our charity. So people who are also supporting might be able to influence the decisions of others. So for example, I saw that Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher decided to support the response to Ukraine. And as donors themselves, they led a big initiative to raise money in a Stand with Ukraine fundraiser. And you can see that they raised over $30 million doing that. So that strongly shows that people who might identify with those other donors, these famous celebrities, might be influenced to give through those campaigns. If we're interested in using information about how identification with the beneficiaries of the charity can influence charitable giving, we might want to draw attention to the similarities between the supporter base that we have and those particular beneficiaries. A really good example is from my native New Zealand, a charity called Kids Can. They always emphasize that the beneficiaries of their charities are also Kiwis. And so they're talking to Kiwis and saying, let's help other Kiwis, Kiwi kids, and let's really make a difference in our own backyard. So that's an example of how drawing attention to identification with the beneficiaries can be used in campaigns. And then if we want to look at how identification with fundraisers might influence charitable giving, one thought is if we're thinking about individual fundraisers, we could consider the importance of fundraiser diversity. So there is data to suggest that fundraisers are more often women, they're more often white, and they're in a particular age range. So what we could recommend is that perhaps increasing the diversity and having different kinds of people working as fundraisers provides more opportunities for natural shared identities to exist between potential donors and those fundraisers. Alternatively, if we want to look at the importance of identification with fundraising organizations, we can also draw attention to those shared identities in campaign materials. One subsector that's really good at doing this is the university sector. So they often do campaigns led by alumni identities. So talking to potential donors and highlighting how those donors share an identity with the fundraising organization or the university because they're alumni. So some examples, Cornell University, you can see here, really highlights the Cornellian identity that they hope the donors, the potential donors, will share with that university. And closer to home here in Brisbane in Australia, Griffith University also you see highlights your university, your community. So really drawing attention to those donors that they belong to that university that they are a part of. These are just a few examples of how our learnings about the role of identification with donors, beneficiaries, and fundraisers influencing giving can be used in your fundraising appeals. Hope this is helpful, and if it is, please subscribe to the channel and share with your networks.